2008, London, United Kingdom. A major international cricket tournament is underway at the stadium. The audience holds their breath as a black helicopter appears in the sky. It descends directly onto the field. Stepping out is American billionaire banker Alan Stanford. He confidently walks towards the VIP section. In his hands, a black suitcase. Under the flashes of cameras, he opens it, revealing $20 million in cash. He promises to award this money to the tournament winners. Spectators are thrilled, and journalists immediately publish stories about the American tycoon conquering the world of cricket. Everyone thinks this is part of a PR campaign for a successful businessman supporting sports. But in reality, Stanford staged this spectacle to boost his popularity among Britain's elite and lure them into his banking scam. However, his fake financial empire had little time left, though the show continued for now. This is the story of how one man built one of the largest financial pyramids in history under the guise of a bank and stole over $8 billion from investors. 1980s, Texas, USA. Alan Stanford was born into an ordinary family but dreamed of making it into the world of big money. Young, ambitious, and audacious, he started his business early, launching a network of sports clubs in Texas. However, his company went bankrupt when the oil market crashed in the 1980s, plunging the state's economy into crisis. But that didn't stop Stanford. He used the market instability to his advantage and began buying real estate for next to nothing. After making a small fortune from the crisis, he decided to leave the United States and move to Antigua, a small Caribbean island with lax financial regulations. There, in 1985, he established Stanford International Bank, SIB, an offshore financial institution registered on the same island. Stanford immediately set out to build an image of trust and stability, resorting to various fabrications. He claimed that his family had a long banking tradition with an impeccable reputation. This gave him a certain status among potential clients, as people tend to trust such stories, especially when they sound so prestigious. He even invented a tale that his grandfather had allegedly run a bank in the Caribbean since the 1920s. This gave Stanford the necessary aura of success and helped him attract his first clients. Formally, the bank operated within the law, offering clients attractive conditions for storing funds and investing. The bank's main product was certificates of deposit, CDs, a popular banking tool that guaranteed a fixed return on deposited funds. In other banks, such deposits yielded 3 to 4% per year, but Stanford International Bank offered between 10% and 12%, 3 times more than traditional financial institutions. It seemed like a unique opportunity. The bank passed all required audits, and its founder donated millions to charity to develop the island and enhance its appeal to future bank clients. So, Alan projected the image not only of a smart, ambitious banker and entrepreneur, but also gained a reputation as a philanthropist. But behind this respectable facade lay one of the biggest financial frauds in history. In the 2000s, Stanford International Bank became a symbol of success. Over 15 years, its clients included tens of thousands of people from 130 countries worldwide. Politicians, businessmen, and celebrities invested their wealth, enticed by promises of stable income and elite service. The total assets of the bank exceeded $8 billion, and its owner, Alan Stanford, was listed in Forbes with a net worth of $2.2 billion. The secret to success was exclusivity. This was not a bank for everyone, only for the chosen few. Stanford created the illusion of financial security and stability, promising clients unique conditions.
The richest people, if you want to put it in very layman's terms, in the world that we bring down here will be impressed and will do business with us in this country. I am totally committed to one thing, and that is growing our business in a quality way, which means that we're growing our business with what we call high net worth people. And ladies and gentlemen, high net worth people, rich people if you want to call them that, do not get impressed very easily. So you have got to do something that is unique in the world, sets you apart, what we call the Stanford Standard of Excellence.
Deposits in SIB yielded 10 to 12% annually, but this was not the result of well-thought-out investments or a profitable financial strategy. It was a classic Ponzi scheme. New investors' money was used to pay old investors. How did he manage to attract such large investments? Stanford knew that to create an illusion of stability, he needed to build the image of a successful, respected banker. He actively worked on his image by showcasing a luxurious lifestyle, openly spending millions on private jets, yachts, and estates in the Caribbean. He sponsored international cricket tournaments, generously funded politicians, and donated to charity. In the United States alone, his political donations exceeded $2.4 million. Stanford became a star. He was featured on television as one of the most successful bankers. He presented himself as a benefactor supporting social initiatives, and because people saw his name at charity events and major sports tournaments, they became more inclined to trust his financial business. His bank was considered reliable simply because it appeared to be, but behind the facade of luxury and influence, there was nothing. Stanford International Bank did not invest client money in real assets. The entire bank was a fiction built on trust. Stanford created a grand scam that only lasted as long as new clients kept bringing in money. Although the first suspicions about the bank's activities emerged in 1999, but Stanford had connections and money to avoid scrutiny. Regulators turned a blind eye, and clients continued to invest millions. However, everything changed in 2008 when the global financial crisis hit. Investors panicked and began withdrawing their money from banks, moving it into more stable assets. And when Stanford International Bank's clients tried to withdraw their deposits, it turned out the money simply wasn't there. Mass withdrawal requests triggered panic, and Stanford's attempts to calm the situation failed. Trust in the bank was destroyed. People demanded their money, but the bank could not return it. In 2009, the investigation into Stanford's financial empire became one of the biggest financial events in the world. A system that had promised its clients stable returns for decades turned out to be a sophisticated Ponzi scheme. U.S. and Antiguan regulators launched an investigation into Stanford International Bank. Within a month, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission officially charged Stanford with fraud. During the investigation, it was revealed that of the declared $8 billion in assets, only $500 million were real. Client funds had been spent on numerous fraudulent operations, Stanford's personal expenses, and partial payouts to investors. On February 18, 2009, realizing his arrest was inevitable, Stanford attempted to flee the U.S. He headed to a private airport in Houston, where a plane was waiting to take him to a country where he hoped to find refuge. But his plans fell apart. Stanford couldn't make the payment for the chartered flight. The issue was that the private airline required electronic payment, which had to be processed through a bank account. However, due to financial troubles and his accounts being frozen, Stanford no longer had access to his funds or credit cards. Unable to pay, his escape was foiled. Meanwhile, the FBI, already tracking Stanford, moved in. They learned of his escape plan and shut down all exit routes. As soon as Stanford attempted to leave, he was arrested at the airport. Unable to escape, he surrendered without resistance. Stanford's arrest drew worldwide media attention, and the news shocked the financial world. In scale, it was the second largest financial fraud in U.S. history after Bernie Madoff. Despite Stanford denying his guilt and trying to blame the economic crisis and external circumstances, the evidence was overwhelming. Many of his former employees, clients, and business partners testified against him, reducing their own sentences in exchange for cooperation. In 2012, Alan Stanford was found guilty on 13 counts of fraud. The court sentenced him to 110 years in prison, one of the harshest sentences for financial crimes in U.S. history. However, the victims of the scam never received their compensation. Out of the $8 billion, less than 10% was recovered.